Hello and welcome to Orbital Brick. In today's video, after working on the R700A, I thought why not do more with the Kerbal Atomics nuclear engines. So, I have what looks like a fairly small rocket, and I've put a nuclear engine on the second core stage. Now liftoff is fairly standard, so I have gone for a staging setup used on, I believe it was Delta 2 or Delta 3, one of the Deltas, where we only have solid rocket boosters ignite at launch, and where some of the others will ignite in flight, and we have a core of this liquid fuel engine that burns the entire time, which we've significantly throttled down, both to keep thrust-weight ratio is reasonable, but still having it active allows us to have some control over where the vehicle is moving. Already you've seen those first three boosters and I actually used the smart parts for that. It's an excellent mod that I don't use enough, I have to admit. And yeah, the next three boosters are burning, so keeping throttle just high enough where we can use the engine gimbal to keep some control. There we go, fully throttled up. Yeah, now you can see the trefoil on the interstage. And yeah, you also see some grey patches on the fuel tank. Those are the radiators to prevent the engine from melting itself. I'm just gonna say, I had the idea for a rocket before I had the idea for the payload. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to put, so I just put a random crew capsule, but then realized if we could go to Munar pretty easily, it would just fly by. I didn't have Delta V for orbit. So yeah, I ended up making this spacecraft, which has like Apollo style configuration with the habitation module. As yeah, we're now burning to orbit, and in fact that is now complete. So you can deploy the solar panels both on the habitation module and the spacecraft itself. I'm happy with how that came out. It's a near future spacecraft command pod in the universal storage service module, I guess would be the correct term. Yes, there's the nuclear engine right there. The stubber augmented atomic rocket motor from Kerbal Atomics. And yeah, the reason it's augmented is you can actually use not only can it burn just purely liquid hydrogen, since we're beyond just using liquid fuel for these now. It has a mode where you can also use oxidizer for additional thrust. I'm not using that since I just need the performance from the hydrogen mode, and I believe this is more efficient than the stock Nerva. Could be wrong on that, didn't really check. Anyways, as I said, Apollo style with the habitation module, zero dealing transposition and docking. This was actually the second attempt. First attempt, I accidentally bumped into the habitation module, which does not have a probe core on it, and everything started spinning and was unable to be docked. Anyways, we can now use the RCS to faster than usual dock with that habitation module, and that stupid mod Kerbal funds will always pop up the moment I use the L key, which I have to look into if there's a way to disable that, because I'm not sure how the mod author did foresee that L is often used for RCS translation. The random tangent aside, I'm just looking over the nuclear engine, making sure that the heating is working, well, I guess the cooling is working properly, and it's not overheating itself. And that's why I find it isn't working properly, since both the solar panel and one of the radiators has stopped functioning. Our engineer Claire O'Sullivan, I believe is the name there. Hopefully, she's able to survive this radiation, and she now has to do an EVA to repair some of the parts of the spacecraft, which probably isn't a good sign, just like right after launch. Yeah, we're able to repair the parts, hopefully with minimal radiation exposure. Again, I'm not sure how good of shielding the fuel tank is there, but there's definitely non-realistic aspects to this. Anyways, that aside, we can plot our course to Munar. And yeah, we're just doing a flyby, but we're not able to get a free return trajectory, or at least I wasn't able to figure it out. So we'll do a burn at the Mun and another one after that to adjust our trajectory to re-enter Kerbin's atmosphere. But now we escape from Kerbin. Beautiful plume there on the nuclear engine. Also, we have enough electrical generation on this, we can just have the cooling enabled. Kerbal Atomics just allows you to just cheat essentially by preventing stuff from blowing off if you have electricity, which honestly, unlike the realism overhaul solution of having insulation layers, I think that's just more realistic, and I'm not sure why it's a tangent I decided to go down, but you know what, I won't complain since it means you have to carry less mass. Anyways, we can check out the habitation module, which it's just from stock space station parts redux. Since that adapter is empty, I decided to clip some supply containers into that. I have to admit, oftentimes, this is going to be a major confession, oftentimes with crewed spacecraft, the service modules or command modules, they logically, and even in the IVA, they should have supply storage, but they're not configured properly to work with USI life support, so I do often end up just clipping a life support bag into that part. And yeah, I guess that's your confession for the day. Yeah, I feel like it's justified since in the IVA you can see that there are this life support storage bags, and so I feel like it's reasonable to assume you can actually store stuff there. It was just stalling for time while not much was happening, but something is very much happening. Inclination change. And yeah, our have value, I guess life support values in general look good. However, after every single burn, just my trajectory was slightly more often than with the previous burn, which means that I thought we had plenty of Delta V, but we actually will not end up having enough. As you can see here, I really wasn't sure how to get the crew home, and I decided to leave that as a problem for later, and I do eventually solve that. Anyways, more pressingly, we're running out of electric charge, but I did prepare for this and have some more propellant-based fuel cell. But once we pass through the shadow of Sona, we are fine on electricity. And look at that, you can see the sun shining through Sona's rings there, giving it a far more blue tone than usual. And also, for the third time in this mission, the command pod reaction wheel broke. But finally, we can get to main focus, which is the Mun. We're gonna have to do a maneuver to hopefully get us closer to Kerbin on our return. Beautiful view there, though you don't get to see it for long since I need to then do the burn. Also, as you see, for some reason, the IVA mod isn't working properly, and so, as you saw, the screens were dark there, and it keeps popping up random errors. I don't know how to fix it. I've found zero information on this. I've checked the log files, there's nothing. I've reinstalled multiple mods, nothing. So I'm not really sure what to do about that. Anyways, our burn past the burn at the Mun periapsis is nearing conclusion. However, I realize there's absolutely no way I'm gonna get this crew home. We do not have enough Delta V. You're gonna see I'm gonna plot a maneuver to our lower periapsis, but we do not have the Delta V for that. So I again decide that's a problem for later, and time warp away from the Mun. Now here's the thing, we're not immediately gonna get our Kerbin encounter. We're gonna orbit around Sona one more time, and we're gonna be very close at periapsis, which means we can utilize the Uber effect to raise our apoapsis, change our Kerbin encounter, and be able to return safely. And so actually, I did resolve the problem. It's looking pretty good on life support stuff. Yeah, fairly small burn. Using the last propellant in the nuclear engine stage. And there we go, nice periapsis of 30 kilometers. Should be fairly safe for re-entry. Just using RCS to fine-tune the burn. But we actually have like 40 ignitions on this engine, so I really didn't have to worry. But now, skipping forward to when we're at Kerbal, we can jettison the habitation module on the engine stage, with chance it's gonna get crashed into Kerbal. I'm sure that won't have any negative consequences. And a while later, we can jettison the service module and prepare for re-entry. And once again, the reaction wheel breaks. But now we can re-enter. Nice view from the capsule windows here. You can see the nuclear equipped stage just casually exploding. I'm sure there will be zero negative consequences for just anything that might line the path of this re-entry. Yeah, just there it goes. Beautiful re-entry effects from the Firefly mod. Still one of the best Kerbal Space Program mods ever released. Yeah, that stage has now broken apart. I believe the stage is about... yeah, it's the part that's currently flying off separate from the rest. That may have been a nuclear engine. I feel like it may have survived longer than that. Actually, looking at the brain now, there might be a nuclear engine there. Yeah, that's just now raining nuclear fuel on somewhere random. Yeah, we can speed up the rest of this re-entry. You've seen re-entries before, I'm sure. And for this scene, we'll prepare for parachute deployment. Now, you're gonna see, I'm going to ensure that our engineer does have her parachute equipped, because on previous test runs of this, the parachute has melted. And so I was preparing for, in case of that happening, bailing the crew out. Now, the parachute seemingly was working fine here. However, then the Kraken will decide to launch the spacecraft at a very high velocity. I can reload a quick save and land safely. I hope you enjoyed. I want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and goodbye.